I think Train Dreams is kind of like, it's still even then a league of its own. And like it's fun, like the simple thing, it's like he matters, but he doesn't matter at the
World an old place. Probably nothing it hasn't seen by now.
I feel it too.
This world is intricately stitched together, boys.
All right, folks, here we are. We're going to talk about another one of these great films of the 2020s. That's right. I say great going. I'm not sure they're historically great, but within the last 5-6 years, it has been slim pickings. And this is a dramatic film actually from last year, 2025. It did get nominated for an Oscar. Train Dreams is what we were talking about. And Vex is the reason that I heard about this film, because she likes to throw out these end of the year comments about some of the stuff she likes. And yeah, so lady, thanks for getting together with me and let's talk about it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I've been ready to, because nobody I have recommended this to has actually watched it. We discussed it briefly on BSEP, and Reaper was just like, "Oh, it was a boring film and it was dumb." And I was like, "Did we watch the same movie?" Yeah. Right. But this was like one of those. It's so rare now that you watch a film or a show where after you're done watching it, you're just kind of like, what do I do with myself now? Like, what? You can't watch something else. You can't distract your mind because you've been kind of like smacked in the face with something like so emotionally powerful. And that's how I felt, kind of like Train Dreams. I was sitting, like, I was watching it on my iPad. I was completely enthralled the entire time. I couldn't look away. And then as it ended, I'm just like, I'm just sitting there like, like hyperventilating, cry because
the missus can't watch it. Thought she would like it. Beautifully shot film. We love the cinematography, but it is a bit of a heavy drama. So folks that are expecting all the other stuff, then yeah, they're going to find this boring. This is not your cup of tea, and you know, to each their own. However, it is such a beautiful historical examination of what life could have been like. And I don't exactly know how to parse this out with the whole fiction, nonfiction thing, because I likened it to The Homesman, which is a Tommy Lee Jones, Hilary Swank film where they're basically moving women who are going mentally ill from one part of the country to another. And while I feel it's still fiction, you feel like it's just a representation of life. It would never shock me if it was like, well, I found this random person's diary and it inspired me to write this story. Or I've got these letters that I found in a trunk from my grandparents' attic. And those type of things bring such an authenticity. And I don't know much. I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole too much because I didn't really want the spoilers and stuff. I know there was he co-wrote the screenplay, but there is a novella that was written. Is there a true story? Is there more substance on meat on the bone that I don't know about? Or do you feel like this is just capturing the essence of that time?
I think it might be a mixture of both. I've been wanting to read the novella because I was so impressed with the film itself. I would say there's an equal part of this was likely inspired by, because there's especially when you read like a lot of those like Old West or like turn of the century stories, there's always these little historical figures that come up as like a blip in the story, but then they're kind of forgotten. So for me watching this, I was kind of thinking, because this is like one of the weird thing that I always think about whenever I read about historical events, but it's like world wars, for example. So many lives are lost, and we only hear about a snippet of them that like did something extraordinary or went on to actually write about their experiences and survive through all of it. But then what about the like hundreds of thousands, even millions in some case, of people that didn't get their name remembered by others, that their bodies maybe weren't found, their stories weren't heard, that are just completely lost to time? So like, I feel like if we're going historically, I feel like that's kind of a lot of what the film, like, without being too overt with it, kind of uses as inspiration, because you hear it in the very beginning when Robert just like he's a boy basically without anything. He doesn't know where he comes from. He doesn't know really who he is. He doesn't even have a birthday. And his life, once his life gains purpose and then it's taken away from him, then it circles back around, and now he is a man with basically no name, no family to carry on his legacy, no one who actually knows his story. So that's like, yeah. So I think it takes a little bit from the historical there, but I also feel like this might be a bit of like almost like a personal introspection for the author. Because me watching this as a woman, I love to go like camping, and I like exploring the wilderness, and I like being in nature. That's kind of where I feel personally like at a lot of peace and feel a lot of calm. So like to see a story that kind of connects those two, like just the human experience with the natural world amidst kind of like this growth and cementing of modern life, like really hit home for me, because there's so much that we as humans have lost touch with for just in our natural roots sort of deal. So it's a mix of things.
Well, I think you hit on something that, but you hit on some stuff there I think I want to unpack too, because my brain has really been down that rabbit hole too. I covered a show a while back called Masters of the Air, which is the Air Force version of Band of Brothers and the Pacific and whatever. And it kind of came and went. It had a few people that talked about it, but one of the things that struck me is because my family was so traumatically impacted by World War II in particular, where we sent off several relatives, and only my grandfather and one uncle were the only men that came back. So when I watch these shows, I am also thinking about, like you say, the faceless person on the plane that just got shot down.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe their relatives back home also didn't live very long, or they were also in the war. Like I don't even know the names of all these relatives that I lost. I only know the names of a few of them. So it becomes a story that's sort of a recapturing of sort of the lost history that some of these individuals had. And like you said, Robert is maybe an avatar of a man in a time with all these different journeys, experiences that most people either don't know much about or can't envision in a real practical way. And I think the film does such a great job of taking you through these moments of, what do you do when you don't have a lot? He meets a woman, and I love that shot. I kind of get with Pat, the aerial shot of a house. We'll just build a house here. Like there's just like rocks on the ground, and in a world that we like concrete jungles connected to other concrete jungles, that should fascinate people that this is where we came from. Like it really, really is some extraordinary feats stacked on top of other extraordinary feats.
Totally agreed with you. Also, like just in terms of like them, when you look at the aerial shot of the house too, like there's maybe this is just me because I've had this conversation with a few different people, but like I feel like the idea of like freedom is grossly misinterpreted in the modern day. And what a lot of Train Dreams equally does is, yes, Robert as a character is dependent on the logging industry to make an income, but he has as a man that comes from nothing and has nothing, he has so much freedom to kind of go whichever direction he wants to go when it comes to life. So when he finally meets Gladys and he's given a sense of direction and a sense of purpose, it's nice to see that he just has the freedom as an individual to create whatever life he wants with her without that overarching constraint of like, do I have enough money? What about taxes? What about electricity? Like everything they need to survive is right in this little 1 acre plot of land that they've decided to cultivate together, which it adds like this really like nice, especially in the first half of the film, like this really great whimsical romanticism that's like, it doesn't what's the word? It doesn't like overly conflate like how simple life was. It still shows like some of the struggles that they had, but it's a very like simple and quaint and happy life. And there's only a few things that you ever really need to think about in order to be.
Yeah, I think that contentment is one of the hardest things we have because the entire world is driven off giving us another dopamine epinephrine hit of some kind. So the idea that you can just sit and be and enjoy what you have in and of itself is foreign to most people. And I know that I struggle a lot with why do I still have this stuff that I haven't touched in a minute? Or why do I still, different things that, we're flooded with so many possessions and stuff. It's like, is there a why I still have it? And, I think that as we move through the boomer generation, and some of them are feeling that. I know someone very close is like, I have stuff that's just junk to everyone else, because a lot of their attachments and a lot of it is those memory placeholders, those memory prompts, experiences that they have. And sure, they don't want to get rid of just every material object they have, nor should we really ask them to, but they also have that stark reality if nobody wants it. Like, it doesn't hold value to most other people. It has more sentimental value than material stuff. And when we reflect on a time where the struggle was to get anything, like back home on the, food on the plate, and making sure there was going to be wood in the fire, and making sure there would be something to eat. But what I think this does differently is it just approaches the man's journey through all of that. And his journey is different in that, and I guess I never really thought about it, but it does make sense. He just would leave to work. He's just doing logging. So he's just gone. And he's there doing his thing. And then you just go home. And when he's home, he's all in on spending time with his wife and now child. But it's almost two separate worlds. It's really, really fascinating. And then, we'll get more into like the scars and the trauma that he experiences that he can't get rid of, because you do experience things that, are with you for the rest of your life.
Right.
I think the film is almost maybe too simple for people. You know what I mean? I feel like maybe it's a life journey film, and people don't want to unpack that is what we're all doing, if that makes sense. Like, we're in a different time, but it's like, wow, we are all just doing a life journey film. It's just, we're the only main cast in our film. And for us to put ourselves in someone else's film, it doesn't always connect, because like this one's a different era, or they can't relate to Robert's experiences, or whatever the case may be. I don't know. What are your thoughts on sort of these different things that we're kind of unpacking with this?
I could see that, because like a lot of the stories where it is like telling the journey of someone, it's not over the span of so many years. It's not a whole life. It's like this one little adventure in the grand scheme that maybe drastically changes or impacts a character. So I could see that maybe this would be a little bit slow, a little bit boring. A lot of the I think the symbolism for a lot of this movie, you could take it as face value, but I think a lot of the deeper meaning would be lost on a general audience, which is probably why we're not seeing a lot of discussion around this. Like, there's the when we see Robert working on that one, I can't remember what the name of the railroad was, right? But the major one that we see him at the beginning of the film working on. And this one. And there's the Asian man that, it's just like, we all come from different backgrounds and we form this sort of family, and they don't understand the language, but there is like a baseline that they can relate to. And all of a sudden they just grab this man and throw him off a ledge. And you could infer like it probably is about racism, right? Because this is a time where like the Chinese population in America were heavily, what's the word I'm looking for?
Oh, there's massive prejudice and 100%.
Right. But like the man haunting him then throughout his life, and this like growing sense of like foreboding that something's going to happen, it's more indicative of the things in the world that we no longer have connection or attach value to. And was it William H. Macy's character has a great little spiel when they initially introduce the character, but when they're having a discussion, when he's like playing the harmonica and all the guys are like, shut up. So we're trying to sleep. So they start talking there, and there's a great instance where he's just like, every tree, whether it's dead or alive, it carries value. It has a life, right? It's still tied to the nature of everything. It's interconnected with the entire world, sort of deal. And like even this one man just being thrown off of a bridge, it's just because his body has decayed, his bones are gone, you don't see him walking around anymore. the life that he once lived and once was is still, it's part of the earth now. It's woven into the fabric of everything we see around us.
This world is intricately stitched together, boys. Every thread we pull, we know not how it affects the design of things.
Yeah, what do you do?
There must be something for us to learn from that.
I think I went off on a tangent.
No, but let me see if I can pick up where you're running the ball, because I feel that the trauma that he goes through in this case, he doesn't do anything. He asks like, hey, what's going on with this guy? You can feel, because we don't have to have exposition about he's such a good man.
Right.
We don't have to have a narrator spoon feeding us about, even though he came from an orphan background, he's a man of integrity. No, we don't have to have any nonsense. We just see him responding like, hey, what are you doing with this dude? I don't care if he's Chinese or not. He was a hardworking guy right here with me. You're just grabbing him and throwing him off a bridge for no reason. What is happening? And you feel like, I didn't do anything. I saw injustice and didn't act. And I'm haunted by that. Okay.
Right.
That is a large part when we are so in our own heads as humans, right? Where we'll regret or have an embarrassment or have a stigma that we were given, or attachment. Someone said we were ugly, or someone said we couldn't speak right, or whatever it may be. And we're the only ones carrying those things. I don't know about you, but I've had interactions with folks, and I've, put on the pastor hat and tried to go through the therapeutic side of that, and you're trying to unpack it. And usually you're the only one carrying that around, right? The grudges hold on to you more than, you're the one holding on to the grudge. The grudge is, no one else is caring about these things.
Yeah. I've been through that. Yep.
Yeah. This person that said this random thing to you in high school, that you have now put a tag and a label on yourself of, that person doesn't even probably remember who you are, let alone remember saying that thing. Right. And it's so, and I'll give you a very personal example. And I reached out to this person on Facebook. I hadn't talked to her since we were kids. We were in high school. And I just wanted to say, look, I didn't treat you well. I was not a nice person. I said and did some things that was really bad. And I wish I could take it all back and blah, blah, blah. Right. Just try to atone for, hey, listen, I was probably a pretty crummy person to you. No, her response was, I kid you not, her response was, are you okay? Are you going to die or something? And I was like, that says a lot about how often we try to atone for something bad that we've done to someone. And the fact that maybe she didn't even carry what I had said or did to her. What I don't even know. But the fact that we as humans, again, we're carrying stuff we shouldn't have to carry. We're hurting people we may not even meant to hurt. And the story, I think, just embodies so much of, if I could undo that wrong, and then because I don't, you have a karma argument, right? We can make it, you can make a case of what happens with this family later. It's all about karma. Totally fine if you want to take that angle on. It's a very direct interpretation of the film in a lot of ways.
Right.
But I think more importantly, it is just a man that is just stuck because he's so isolated, right? Can't imagine people living such an isolated life. There's no one around you, Vex, to push you through stages of grief, acceptance. Like what, when he goes, he finally has a family. He finally has this stuff. And, he has this friend, like just before we get to the he has this friend. And then the idea of how the friend is taken away from him, this kind man. There's no, as men, we're horrible at talking about our feelings anyway, let alone a dude that's living an isolated life in the middle of the woods on a 1 acre plot that no one, I think there's so many layers to this film that deal with human nature. I that's what makes it marvelous for me.
On the note of like having people around, because even when William H. Macy's character is gone, then there's the native store owner that comes to him later in the film, right? And he actually tries to, like you said, he tries to become that person that pushes Robert to that acceptance that they're gone. They're not coming back. Like, I see that you are stuck here and that you need that extra push over. And then he finally kind of breaks down when they kill that elk, right? And he's just like, I don't think they're coming back, sort of deal. But it's because Robert, when we're introduced to him, he is a stagnated character. He doesn't have anywhere to go, anything to do. He's just kind of like going through the motions. Then when he meets Gladys, he has his daughter Katie, then he actually starts to progress as an individual, right? And then when he
Mhm.
loses them, he stagnates for the rest of his life. And it's interesting because then he meets another, what's her name? The
Oh,
Firewatch woman.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
And
one
like,
that yeah.
yeah, it's like even in his own like very small, isolated, very empty life in a lot of ways, there are other people that are much the same as him that are in that same stagnated motion, but they're just experiencing it a little bit differently, right? Like even she kind of tells him in their final interaction in the film where he admits like sometimes I hear their voices like out there in the
Mhm.
trees.
Carrie Condon's character,
Yeah.
Claire.
Right. Claire, thank you. Yeah.
So to go high level for folks that he's in this logging situation, has to go away to work and then
Hmm.
comes back. And then he tragically has to leave his family. And while he's gone, a fire consumes the area.
Hmm.
He can't get closure because there's no bodies that are found. And he sort of
Hmm.
like, you have this sort of mystery of what does he see, not see, visions, whatever, because
Hmm.
he's so he finally had a purpose. Like he finally had a reason to,
Right.
I won't say a reason to live, but he had a wife, he had a kid, he had his little 1 acre plot. And sure, it sucked to
Hmm.
have to go across the country to go work for a minute. And then, like you said, through the various individuals, he starts to pick up some sort of purpose. Let me do something. He
Hmm.
tries to do logging again. Of course, technology, again, that's another conversation too. Technology passing him by. That was really fascinating. And
Hmm.
then, of course, he does meet this lady. She's like this, lone wolf forest ranger out in the middle of nowhere. And
Hmm.
it was nice to also see two individuals who don't rush into bed together having nice, comforting conversation and time together to
Yep.
discuss what they're both kind of going through. And the film is just really juggling a lot of emotional balls and a lot of journeys through life type things. And I think
Hmm.
it's magnificently done, just magnificently done.
I do like that when what you mentioned earlier is like, yeah, you could interpret the fire as karma, but like if we just go back to like we were saying about people that have been lost in world wars, there are just like
Mhm.
natural events, there are just disasters that we will never know the source of or that even existed or the scope of, and that kind of like it could be karma. You can tell that Robert is because he's so isolated and because he feels he has nothing, he almost like stagnates even on his own thoughts. And I think that's what the Asian man is also equally representative is like mentally, even though he's a pretty like mature individual, he does get stuck in his own head a lot. And I think that also the voices that he hears, that's another instance of just kind of where he's stagnated mentally as a person because he has been so isolated and alone and like I there's a shot at the beginning of the film when he's still a boy, and as he arrives to the small town, there's the people around like a giant sturgeon, and instead of Robert being a part of the families that are all gathered around it and talking, he's to the back just watching it. And it's like there's so many instances in this film where, like you said, it's not that we had to have it explained to us, just all of the shots do the talking for you. And you can build
Mhm.
such a thorough like profile for Robert as a character just from what the director is choosing to show us, which I that's like equally like I was not looking forward to rewatching this, even though I genuinely adore this film, and I agree
Mm.
with you that it's up there
Yeah.
in the 2020s. But if you're not if you're able to see past like the simple, oh, okay, this is a man's life and here's what he experiences, if you're able to see like the deeper layers in there, you have to you have to emotionally prepare yourself for this film because I messaged you yesterday that I was rewatching it. It's just like I knew where it was going and I was already teary-eyed like
Mhm.
15-20 minutes in because it's the happiness when it's happy is so happy, and then when it gets sad and it stays sad, it just like it drags you down with it. And by the time we get to the last like 10 minutes of the film now, where we see just like time has skipped ahead and he's stagnated, he is stuck in the past, he's stuck in his old ways. We see how the town has changed around him. Now people are landing on the moon and they're out in outer space. There's TVs everywhere. You can go to the theater, and then there's the plane. And in all this, he's still lost. He still has no place here, no purpose here. And when he gets on that plane in the very final scene of the film, and you see his life flash before him, and you just kind of see that smile on his face. It's like, many people could interpret Robert's story as like a sad one that really had no meaning and no impact, but for me, it's like seeing the character kind of finally reach a point where it's not so much that he accepts everything, but he can just finally like see it as it is without his own self like holding him back, and his own emotions holding him back, and realize that he wasn't alone this whole time. There was something he was part of, and it was just the world. He's ingrained into it, no matter if he has descendants, if he has friends, if there are people that know his story. It's
And the film does such a good job of immersing you in that through beautiful cinematography and storytelling, showing you rather than just talking to you. And I think what's different than I watch it once and I'm done experiences, this one, I think if you open yourself up to it and you recognize your own humanity, your own descendants, your own ancestors, stories beyond the scope, like we were talking about, like the other tragedy of war, things like that. But this is even like just so I know when I went to did again, another little personal story, I guess, but I did Ancestry at one point, which I always recommend people do with caution because it is quite addictive and you're down a rabbit hole and don't know how much of your life suck that'll become. But I did. And I had a random, I don't know, these people would have multiple kids. You don't know how many kids are going to make it. So they have like 9 kids. Like, I think I have a big family. These people double me. Right. So I have the one that went out west, probably chasing the dream. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how many of these other relatives, I don't even know where they went or what they did. Like, at least this guy I could track down. And you have these sort of like, Robert represents a lot of these stories of, well, you know what? He just kind of gave up and lived in the woods. And maybe he had a family, maybe he didn't have a family. We just don't really have much record of what happened next. And like you said, the fires and other natural disasters are such a massive impact that we just do not, especially with modern technology, we do not put our head around that. I actually just talked to somebody about, they think I'm crazy with this kind of story, but could you go back in time? And I'm like, okay. And I said, this is how bad my brain is. So let's say I could go back in time and I could buy an Action Comics #1 because I would know what that is, right?
Okay.
Now what am I going to do with it? Because now I got to figure out what I'm going to do. It's like, I can't take it back, right? Because now you've messed up the timeline. You've done the Doc Brown. You broke the time. So where are you going to put it? It has to think about that. You would have to figure out solutions that would survive the transfer of ownership as well as all the natural disasters. Like, it's completely almost impossible to solve the Rubik's cubes to figure out where you put something or how you would have something that could survive, because so few material objects have survived that length of time. And I don't think people understand that's there's only rarity in certain things because the demand hasn't met it. Because there's a ton of old things that exist. You can go on eBay and find books from 16 something, 17. It's fine. You can find stuff pretty economically. There's no demand, so the cost isn't there. But think about how few of some of those things there are. It's really crazy. I actually just gave a friend of mine some books that my dad had. I don't know, my dad's massive hoarding. They're random medical books that are outdated, but they're dated between 1890 and 1919. So they're like well over 100 years old. And they're just these random giant, it's like reading encyclopedia. I mean, I'm in the medical field and I'm like, yeah, I'm bored already. It just fine. But who wants those? Right. So I had a friend that's into medicine. That's what they're in. But how would you get the book to survive? How would you get stuff through? And the fire, like you said, could have just been a fire, a lightning strike. Easily could have been a flood. Could have been a hurricane. Because someone down here in Florida.
Could have been dry weather. Could have been anything. Yeah.
Yeah. The snow melts on your roof and floods your house. And next thing you know, the stuff that you had's gone. And just in a blink of an eye, you got to figure out how to rebuild your life. I totally understand. It totally has happened to, and here in Florida with the hurricane thing, it's almost like somebody nearly every year when there's a big hurricane is impacted by that. And we all kind of know what happens. Like, we get it.
Right.
The film at least starts challenging you. At least I did. I felt challenged into looking at people differently in that era or time frame. Like what, you know what I mean? Like, it just really opened my mind up to, wow, I am really pretty ignorant to this concept of all those people that are gone. Millions of people that have come through that we don't really know much about. I don't know if Robert Trill or not.
If you look at just the course of
globally,
human history.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We talked about it briefly. It's like, I don't know if Robert Trill or not. He's definitely an avatar for people that did exist.
Right.
Whether it's a perfect through line of his journey, doesn't matter. You know, I know there were probably Chinese that were thrown off a bridge. I know there were people that randomly died in the middle of the woods trying to log and build a bridge. I know that there was, random people who perished because of wildfires or other tragedies that took place. I mean, that's what the film, I think, does so well, is it's juggling. Like I said, I've said it, I'll keep repeating myself, but it's juggling all of those things in a very literal interpretation. Most of what I've talked about in a very literal way, not getting into the metaphors and allegories, which I think you've done a better job of discussing. So, man, cinematography is just...
This is the one, because he's in Idaho, right? This is the only scene in the entire film where we see winter, and I thought it was, speaking of like the bigger symbols and everything that we see in the film, it's, you can walk in the snow and you have footprints for a time, but if it's still snowing, eventually those footprints get covered over and it's like nothing was ever there. The landscape looks untouched again. And I felt that this was like another instance of, we know Robert was there, or someone like Robert was there, but we will never see his full path. We will never understand his full journey because it's all just been covered over by time, essentially. So rewatching this scene, because I noticed, like, why don't we see any winter scenes in here? And this is the only winter scene. And I felt that after the rewatch, I was like, wait a second, that's pretty symbolic of some of the deeper themes in the film, right? So
yeah, the evidence, again, people would have to hunker down and try to figure out how to survive winter, so there's less of a footprint into the historical record, so to speak. Fascinating. Yeah, we actually had some crazy, unexpected winds in the last few days. And we have a big sandy patch where some of the animals are on the farm. And it just smooths over all their prints. It smooths over everything. And I was like, man, that is just wild. It doesn't take very long. We're talking about just, a few hours, and it's just, there's no evidence of anything really being there. You know what I mean? It's just completely been... So snowdrift is even more so if it's still snowing, like you say, because what animal would happen to run across is just gone. And the animals, by the way, which I think is fascinating. No, it's like there's a Star Wars line that's like this, but animals will travel in single file to hide their numbers, right? My donkeys have a path. So it doesn't take very much to hide their path, right? Oh, I tell you what. I think the other thing too that is, and again, I can't say enough about Joel Edgerton, the man that is lonely, having to figure out how to work through whatever he's feeling. Like he kind of has these cursory interactions, like you said, the guy from the store that's, trying to, give him some, his name is Jack, right? Ignatius Jack, is that right?
Ignatius Jack, yes.
He's like the storekeeper, and he kind of befriends Robert, but Robert's really not having it much, right? And then there's these massive segments of time that are taking place sort of off camera, like there's time jumps that aren't really spoon fed to us. So the man's just stuck dealing with his own emotions, and that is something I don't know, it's really tricky. We kind of don't do that, and we also kind of do it worse or just as bad now as we ever do. But he deserves so much credit for conveying that. So much. Yeah.
This might be like, I think this is because I like Joel Edgerton as an actor, and I've seen quite a bit of his stuff, but this might be my favorite performance. It's like, there's good actors, don't get me wrong, but there's always like those one or two roles where you can see that the actor has become the character and you can't distinguish them anymore. And this was one of those roles for him. Like, I could not distinguish Joel Edgerton from Robert Grainier. He did such a great job of just the happy moments, the sad moments, the stagnation of the entire character.
Well, I really do agree. Really do agree. I've done a disservice to his resume too, because some of his bigger films I don't think I've seen, but in this one, and among the stuff I have seen, it is by far, to me, his best accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
And in large part, there's just massive segments of the film where he has to just emote without even another character, let alone having massive dialogue or anything like that. You're just dealing with him conveying pain and emotions. And I didn't look up any interviews or conversation or anything like that.
Me neither.
I want to make sure we were kind of recorded with more of us discussing the film. And I thought, man, I wonder how much, because I want to ask him, like, what did the director tell you? Like, how was this discussed? Like, what is some of your motivations, and how do you, then I'm kind of torn. I almost feel like it would pull back the curtain too much for me. Facts. I necessarily don't want their interpretation. I like it. The fact that it's almost open to not give me something too direct, but yeah, really good stuff.
Just speaking on the direction, because this is something I do notice, especially with like a lot of the big blockbuster stuff, but you can really tell that there was a vision and they went as far as they could to match that vision, because this director doesn't have a whole lot under his belt. And the fact that he's able to kind of instruct the entire production to create something that is so emotional, not just from the performances, but to the visuals, to the music that accompanies it, even to like the little like set pieces, like seeing the shoes on the tree over the years, right? It tells, it's like, I know a lot of people kind of brushed this off in their reviews because there's a lot of Terrence Malick inspiration here. But I find one of the biggest differences between, so Clint Bentley is the director here, between how he directed this and how Terrence Malick kind of does his visuals, is Terrence Malick always has like this sense of like, what's the word? Like, it's not real, like fantasy, even like when his stories are really grounded and historical, there's still always that level of like, am I watching what's actually happening or am I watching a dream? Right? Whereas you look at this film and it's like, yes, there are moments where the script kind of hints that maybe this isn't real. Like when the girl shows up at his cabin towards the end of the film, right? We don't know if that was real or not, but
right.
The rest of the movie, for the most part, is so grounded, and it captures kind of just like how the world is, rather than trying to paint it in some specific way, which I find is a really big difference between the two, and what makes me appreciate and look forward to more stuff that this director might do in the future. Because I can't recall any films, at least in this decade, that tried to do that. There's always like a specific like intent or like fantastical emotion that they try to portray throughout the way they like frame the story on the screen. And I didn't feel that here. Like the scene where they're just like lying on the riverfront, him and Gladys, when he's just like, oh, I think we should get married. And like the background with the late sunset there, and you can see like all of the pine trees in the background, and you can hear the water running. And when I saw that, I was just like, I don't feel like I am looking at someone else's view of this river or of this forest or of this sunset. I feel like I'm right there. And then it just kind of transported me to all the times I've sat on a lakefront or by a river or on a beach where I've seen this exact same view, these exact same colors, these same silhouettes, right? It's the way that this film manages to capture real so really.
Yeah. It is so refreshing to have a film that you're just sort of immersed in, and you're unpacking it emotionally and putting yourself in situations and having almost like a visceral effect to what the characters are doing or going through to your own life or people or own experience. I mean, it's such a I couldn't even really come up with a great list of other films to kind of liken it to express why I like it. I know this seems like it's kind of almost like, no, it seems silly to have the film nerd not even, he's almost like tongue-tied trying to describe Train Dreams, but it felt too simple for most things, if that makes sense.
Agreed.
Like it feels way simpler than most epic dramas that are trying to deal with a human journey. And usually the human has some sort of, I don't know, like he doesn't represent an avatar for really anything that matters. This is the kind of the whole point is he does matter because he doesn't matter. And I know I know it's complicated. It's so overly simple. You almost can't accept it. It's how I felt. I feel like it's just, you're almost constantly, I know. So I've only watched it a couple times, and I feel like I need to watch it again because we keep talking about it. I'm like, I need to watch it again because I'm like, well, what about this scene or that scene? And I'm like, no, I think I'm just still inserting me, or I'm inserting something else into the scene. It's not actually on camera. It's not actually on screen. And that's the brilliance of this film. It's what is there a film you can think of that helps you try to unpack something like this?
The one that came to my mind, since I brought up Terrence Malick, was The New World, that 2005 film with Colin Farrell, Christian Bale was in there. It was like the real story of Pocahontas sort of deal. But for a good chunk of the film, it's just like in the New England wilderness, and you're just kind of seeing the land and the people as they are. And there's still that like fantasy, that romantic element to all of it. But it feels very like basic and simple, and it's not quite the same level as Train Dreams, but like that's the only film that comes to mind where I can say I could sort of compare it to this in the what it's trying to do with the visuals to try and pair it so well with the emotions of the characters and their journeys and whatnot. But I think Train Dreams is kind of like, it's still even then a league of its own. And like it's fun, like the simple thing, it's like he matters but he doesn't matter at the same time. And there's so many instances in the film where, well, here's how he did matter. He helped build one of the most important bridges, right? He was part of the huge kind of growth of the logging industry in the like late 20th and early 21st century kind of deal. Or
right.
Well, I'm getting my centuries mixed up. You know what I mean, right? Just
yeah. No,
right.
I pulled up a list. It says this is Movie Delic, 12 movies that are kind of like, I don't know. I didn't read the definitions on how they pick these movies, but
okay.
Anyway, The Ballad of Jack and Rose. I haven't seen that.
No, I haven't seen that.
Daniel Day-Lewis though. That's that may be one to note. The Claim, 2000 film. I've not even heard of that.
No.
One called Wildlife, which is 2018. It's a Richard Ford novel by the same name. Jake Gyllenhaal is in that. Three Burials. I can't even say this name. I don't know what that is. That's a foreign, Hispanic film, maybe. The Three Burials of Melquiades Estrada. So I don't know if that's... Anyway, An Accidental Murder. It seems, now we're into something that seems more almost like too much happening, but that notwithstanding. The Revenant, which I've heard wonderful things about, the 2015 film.
I could see The Revenant, actually. I could see that one. I haven't watched it. Yeah, since it came out, but I could see the parallel there.
Okay. Legends of the Fall, I totally disagree with. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. Legends of the Fall does not fit a narrative similar to this, like, at all, I don't think.
I think that's a visual thing at best, maybe, or even just like the period it takes place in. I could see the overlap there, but I agree the stories don't really follow even similar beats.
Yeah, nothing similar. Same with the 2021's Power of the Dog. I agree. Again, I just disagree as well. The feel and the vibe is definitely not different. Period elements they're trying to go with here. Yeah, I don't feel anything else works. The Winter's Bone, I've only watched once. I don't remember enough about it.
I don't think that's similar at all here. It's the same kind of like simple story, and it's an isolated story, but it's a moment in time rural, versus
Matawan, which is an older film, 87. Again, I don't think I've seen this one.
Never heard of it.
Sales directed it. Yeah, I don't know. The Holmes one's on the list. That's the one I mentioned. So Tommy Lee Jones co-stars and directs, and I feel like it sort of does, but there's so much more that happens in that film. So it's it's the crisis of that time. How do we deal with the situation? They're moving women from point A to point B. All these different things are happening. But this woman that's doing these incredible things, her legacy sort of dies with her. And that is sort of an interesting element to the film. That's about the only mirror, is the fact that that part, the film itself and the vibe of the film, and all, no, none of the aesthetics don't match. It's not cinema. It's not shot the same way. And like, no, not at all. So, Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford, 2007.
I haven't seen that one, but it's been on my list for some time.
All right. And then Days of Heaven, 1978. That's the Terrence Malick one. That's a Terrence Malick film.
Okay.
So, rich owner film, despite his health, becomes infatuated. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe. But it definitely is a film, I can tell you, and I know I talked about being the best of the 2020s. It is a film that is so incredibly refreshing from the last 5 or 6 years to have something that is so subdued and that we can just enjoy for the sake of enjoying without having a lot of, there's no politics. There's not a lot of stuff going on. That's, it's just a dude walking around. Like almost, man, I feel like almost like I'm watching a dude walking around with his camera, just like we got the edited version of some found footage or something from his life. It's
maybe,
yeah, really interesting. So
I think I just find it hard to see this as a very simple story. I can understand why people would, but there's so much going on. But even then, it's like the pacing is very good for a story that is so simple. Like there isn't a moment where it feels like conversations or scenes are drawn out for the sake of like filling the runtime or filling out a gap. Like every moment in this film matters. It actually contributes to every little detail, the plot, the character, the background, the emotions. Like it never, there's not a wasted minute here. And it, like, watching it, you kind of feel like almost suspended because it does such a great job of capturing so much, doing so little, which, and there's no like grand special effects or like these layered stories or layered relationships that do it. It's just, here it is. I would love to watch it again if it means I don't like bawl again, because again, after I watched it yesterday, how could you not
though? I get all emotional too, and it pulls you in so well. Like it's this is the other thing too, with all this stuff that we've talked about. It seems very lo-fi, and reality is it sucks you in though. You cannot and you don't want to look away. And I think it just he somehow got Joel Edgerton together, and he said, you're gonna have to trust me as a filmmaker and as a writer. And Clint Bentley said, I'm going to reach into the hearts of these people and put a leash on it, and I'm going to walk them around to this character's journey, and we're going to do it together. If you're with me, we're going to do it. And that's how this kind of film is. And it's a remarkable accomplishment for something in an era where all those other things and all that other noise is what drives most films in the direction of studios and everything like that. And this one just got done and kind of went on Netflix. Sadly, I feel like it could have just been better if it had been somewhere else, but things on Netflix can easily be ignored because of the noise of Netflix. And maybe they'll promote it more as they get closer to Oscar season. They could get more buzz as being one of their originals, because they did get a Best Picture nod. People are still not talking about it. Still not talking about it.
Everyone's talking about was it One Battle After Another and Sinners instead. They're both, which I haven't seen One Battle After Another. I just know the political drama, and I didn't like Sinners at all. I thought it was a garbage derivative film, but it's
From Dusk Till Dawn, right?
It basically, but like with a lot more racism, but it's like, oh, I'm black racism sort. It was a terrible film. I don't recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, I'm not.
But even
you're in that category with a couple other people I trust very much. You've said the exact same things that I felt, to not give any more time of my life to even consider watching Sinners. And I'm not watching the One Battle. I'm not watching that nonsense.
I don't care.
Just an agenda film for Antifa metaphors and how smart you are. It's also really long. Really long.
Like 2 hours, or
I think that one is like almost a 3 hours long film, right? It's a massive film. This is not. This is under 2 hours.
Right.
So, Yeah.
And it does so much in less than 2 hours on top
It
of
is
that.
moving in an hour and 40 minutes. So.
I was surprised that because the Oscars seem to be the only major like award show that's actually giving this film because it didn't show up anywhere at the BAFTAs yesterday.
Globes. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Globes
didn't show up at
do
the
anything
Globes.
for it. Yeah.
Mm-mm. There is along with this, because it was like a 3-way tie for like my favorite film of last year, and this was one of them. But another film that is being completely ignored by all of the award circuits is No Other Choice, the Korean film.
Yeah, and I cannot find it anywhere, to be honest. I totally saw that on your list and I missed it. And
I will send you a Google Drive link. How about that? Because I have it downloaded, so I'll just upload it to my drive and I'll email you a link.
Does that have subtitles? Because the place I
Yes.
get, so the one I had did not have subtitles. That was the other.
Yeah,
Sounds
I got the
great.
subtitles, so I'll do that. It's a bit of a lengthy film, but it's another one of those things where it's because I don't know if you've seen a lot of Park Chan-wook's films. He did Old Boy, then there's the Vengeance trilogy he did. But I find like a lot of his movies, like there's this like there's always this dark undercurrent to it. And with this one, it's like that darkness is still there, but he undercuts it so well with comedic and emotional moments, which is very impressive to me because it's not very often that a film is able to balance so many conflicting emotions and tones so well. And there is some like deeper, like kind of like regional symbolism. It's not that hard to look up.
You send me the list of things that I don't. First off, she is kind of a horror buff. She really likes horror movies, and as you know, I don't. I do horror like once a year, and I do like it once a year. I know, which is weird because people, if you haven't seen it, on my channel right now, there is a great. Brought Watch Your Story back for this year, and I had a great conversation with David Weiner, who is one of the documentarians that's bringing the In Search of Darkness, and they did the trilogy for horror. They're doing sci-fi. They're doing whatever. So he's way deeper down that rabbit hole than me. I told him that going in. I said all I did was write down like 12 movies on your list that I've never even heard of or seen. So yeah. Vex does that as well. And to her, she does not know this. I did finally get a copy of, did I say it right? Exhuma? Did I say it right?
Eczema? Yeah.
Eczema? Okay. I wasn't sure if they put the word because it's two separate words and I didn't know if they wanted to kind of play that.
Right.
Yeah. So I did finally get a copy to watch. So I have not watched it yet.
Okay.
It's on my list.
Okay.
I have, look, I've enjoyed the Korean cinema so much because poor Gord King, he's constantly down the rabbit hole with me too. Good, bad, and otherwise. We finally watched Memories of Murder.
One of my favorite films of all time. I love it.
We've heard. We both prefer it to any of his other films. I don't know if that's a hot take because of some other stuff he's done or not, but of his work, I find Parasite to be so insanely overrated. I
agree.
I still cannot. I know. I mean, I kind of get why they like it. I just don't like. I don't get it. Like it didn't work for me at all.
It's a good film, but it's not a great film as everyone tries to. And it's like Bong Joon-ho. I really do think that Memories of Murder is his best. Like even because before Parasite, it was Snowpiercer. Everyone was
I like Snowpiercer. Okay.
Yeah. It's not a bad film, right?
No, it's super solid. It's an enjoyable experience. I thought The Host was so wildly overrated to what people say about it. I'm still sort of in shock. Like I'm like, I mean, I literally hear people like Tarantino, who has kind of odd taste, but usually not like radically off on something being good. Like he'll be like, he'll really like something more and you watch it and you're like, okay, what's a 3 out of 5 movie, dude? It's like, it's not the 4 or 5 that you kind of hype it up to be.
Right.
He hypes The Host. And I'm like, dude, this is a idiotic movie. There's so many character flaw issues and stuff, especially at the end of that movie. It's almost like a bad Scream film with the way they just start throwing crap together to try to make you think it works. I don't know. So I'm looking for Eczema, which I assume I'm saying. I don't know. The words were separated, so I didn't know how to pronounce it, folks. You also had recommended, is it Ugly Stepsisters?
Yes, that was my other 3-way tie for.
Yeah, that's the other one I have not seen yet, and I don't feel it's Hulu is the problem. Yeah, I don't deal with those people.
I also have that downloaded, so I will send you.
This is a woman that likes the first. See, I've done this a lot. We can't get our schedules to align, or we would do this regularly of that first watch experience. What Gord does it. I've got Baron Ormantag doing more like older 70s and cultish films. So Baron just like Now, I have to be honest, I almost purposely, even if I do accidentally, give him some really bad ones to watch back. But he wanted to see me watch some Robert Corman he knew were bad. There's no way he didn't know how bad they would be. And I was like, dude, this was unbearably bad. Like I'm struggling bad. But Gordon, I usually pick something that of substance. Like we recently just finished Following, which I think is up for members. I'm not sure when it drops for everybody, but Following is Christopher Nolan's first film, which I had never seen.
I haven't seen it either. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on. It was on Tubi for us, so it was free. So it's kind of an interesting experience to be able to do that. And then we had watched Eraser. Neither one of us had seen Eraserhead, which is one of these super art film, highly touted, everyone should see kind of movies. And we both have our hot take on that because that was not our reaction at all. So
I thought Eraserhead was okay. I can see why it's overhyped, but it was okay.
So it fits into the, indie scene, but it's got that art feel to it. Like, you know what I mean? When you consider other stuff that's been made on like indie budget stuff, it wasn't really, and it wasn't what I expected. It has some good elements. And I will say there's some beautiful shots, especially in the first part of the film, that are just very interesting on location kind of stuff that he was doing. So, but the Following was superior compared to all that kind of stuff. I think you should definitely check it out. It is really a small film. I don't know if you know this whole story. He made this movie for like $6,000 over the course of a year with his friend. So his wife, he's been with his wife this whole time. I didn't know that either. But I found an interview with him talking about it. And Emma's been with him since those days. And they have this friend, the actor, that's the main actor. And they basically just made that they would shoot a couple of minutes per weekend, every weekend. And I'm telling you now, growing up in that era, well, he's younger than me, but of $6,000, almost all that money was in film stock. I assure you, all that money is almost in film stock. So, yeah, it was right there with El Mariachi. We were tricky on trying to deal with Reservoir Dogs because there was a little bit more money spent on Reservoir Dogs, but the uber indie first film type thing. So it's definitely, it was in that same category. We're going to do one that I think is not going to live up to the expectation because I know it's weird and it's super low budget. It's more like a student film, like Eraserhead was. We're going to do Dark Star, which is John Carpenter's first film.
Oh, I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, so I'm crawling through some of these services that will drop stuff in, especially for short periods of time, like a Tubi. Pluto TV got me onto the X-Files. I've never really watched X-Files consistently, and I've been watching that because it's on. I'm just not into it, and that's the trick. Things like I'm okay to give something a shot, but I don't know. Now, your track record has been pretty good, so
thank you.
Yeah, her track record's been pretty good.
I just download everything because I'm the same way. I don't want to pay for all these services because I'm not really paying the creators. And I know there can be a moral gray ground with pirating, but like if I really like a movie, I'll buy it on DVD. Then I go buy it.
Yeah, then I just go buy it. Yeah,
I'll go see it in theater, right? I'll support it where I can, but it just putting my money into streaming services, that doesn't go to the creators at all, not in a meaningful way. So
yeah, I totally agree with that. And then I think that there's also such a place for helping the secondary market and physical media. My wife and I went to this amazing flea market experience. I don't know if people are there all the time. Let me tell you what, this guy had so many DVDs. It was like a maze of DVDs. And then I was in the back and I was like, I'm not sure I'm supposed to go back here. And I realized that's where they kind of cash people out. And I realized there's a whole trailer. And I asked kind of like the nod, like I'm okay. And that's where all the Blu-rays, all these Blu-rays and Steelbooks are in this trailer. He drives it obviously to other events or other locations. Right. There were so many. He had whole shelves of overstock. The shelf would say Jaws, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future. It was like, I am in heaven. I told my wife, we're going to have to go back and I'm going to have to just be left there for a minute because I have to kind of work on what are the holes in the physical collection that I need to at least put, because it was almost like too much. It was almost too much. I didn't think a person like this still did their thing. I thought they kind of priced out. So, and it was pretty organized, which is my pet peeve too. I'm not all about going, okay, I don't know, Vex, I don't know what you have where you are. She'll take me to Ross. Been in a Ross?
I've been into a Ross. It's chaotic. Yep.
Yeah, Ross looks like everyone's luggage exploded all over the room, is what it looks like to me when I go in there. It is not.
No, I get it because we have a chain called Winners, which is the exact same thing. It's like, it's designer stuff for discount, but they don't organize everything. It's just all Like the shoes
Oh,
are probably the most organized because like they'll try to
they're
put
by
all the styles
size,
together.
kind of. Yeah, they're
Right.
kind of, yeah. But no,
But
it's just the room looks like every room. So we have several of those type of stores that are in,
mhm,
the retail world down here. And most DVD people or physical media people will do the same thing, especially because they'll sell them for $1. So they're not going to
right,
organize them for that. Now, I personally
right.
would, to be honest, I personally would put them in alphabetical order, but that's just me. Now, the last event I didn't do that because I only took like 20 because I know they don't usually sell. So, but yeah, Ugly Stepsister, Eczemus on the list. But what are some other films from the 2020s to now? And I'll just run down my list a little bit of some of those to you, because some things are
Okay.
more like with a caveat. So for instance, I think Spider-Man No Way Home is probably the last great superhero movie. And I say great meaning it's probably still not even in my top 10 of Marvel movies. If it is, it's at the bottom of my 10, but it's probably
Mhm.
the last great superhero movie. Top Gun Maverick is probably the last great like theatrical rewatchable experience. Like it still hits
I
your,
haven't seen it. I haven't seen the
it's like
original
this.
Top Gun either.
Yeah, I mean, it's look. I mean, I didn't even know why we were making Top Gun Maverick. I'm like, I don't need a sequel to a movie that I thought was like kind of mid anyway. But
Mhm,
it really touched all of the patriotic notes and the adventure and the music and the fun and the rewatchability is there. And I will have to give the
mhm.
film some credit that beyond being a critic, like even the grandkids will watch it again and again and again. I've been shocked. It doesn't matter. The wife will watch it. The kids will watch it. That is a rarity that deserves some acknowledgement. I don't care
Okay.
what everybody, because that's a rare thing when you have pretty much multiple age groups and genders all like, yeah, cool. Let's watch that again. And like without any pushback. I'm like, wow, that's a lot. So
Rewatchability is a really big factor for me
huge
when I rate
factor.
a movie. Yeah. If like there can be a good movie I'll watch once, but a really great movie to me is one that
Mm.
I can watch time and time again. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my formula. I'm old school, so I use my 5-star system. So imagine that's the formula.
Mhm.
It's X over 5 times the rewatchability factor. And if that rewatchability factor is just once, you know what I mean? I always give examples like Philadelphia with Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington. I am
Mhm.
willing to admit that's a great film, and I will never see that film again. I don't have anything enjoyable out of that experience other than the trauma of, oh, okay, that's what it was like, huh? All right. Yeah, that's rough. I don't want to
That's
watch sit
fair.
through that again. Yeah, stuff like
That's
that.
a hot take. That's The Godfather for me. It's a good film. I can't watch it again. It's just not for
Yeah,
me.
totally fine. Like that's, it's like you can get it and not be your thing. And I think that's too,
Mhm.
there's a lot of reasons rewatchability won't translate, right? Some people just
Mhm.
don't like that certain kinds of genre, or like you watch a lot of horror that's way over the top for me. I don't watch.
Mhm.
So I'm like, I just don't watch certain ones. Totally get it.
Mhm.
So we've kind of put together a few. The Menu, I think, has probably been the one that surprised people. Did a little video on The Menu, which I think a lot of people hadn't even heard of. I'm sure that's been on your radar screen, right? You've seen the
I
foodie
watched
movie.
it. I didn't think it was that great. I thought it was
No,
okay. Yeah.
I really have to admit, I'm enjoying the setups and callbacks and the metaphors and
Mhm.
it was also not as heavy-handed. It feels like there's a lot more cultural commentary there than
Okay.
the heavy-handed feel of it. You know what I mean? I feel like it's dealing with like a food critic, but is that really about just food critics, or is it about, us YouTubers as well? Is it dealing
Mm.
with just the celebrity guy, or is he a metaphor for all of these, has been people that think they're still talented and don't you know who I am,
Mhm.
tech bros? And I don't know, I think it really does. It really has held up well. And again, I think Nobody has been my action pick. And I think Nobody is the same kind of category. It's not the greatest of all time. Like that's my argument too. I don't know what from this decade makes like top 10 lists of all time. Now, I do want to hope that we can get you back, fingers crossed, so you could sell me on Nosferatu 2024 as being in that category, because I know how much you love that movie.
Mhm.
I find it as being the 4 out of 5, maybe the 4.5 out of 5, but the rewatchability factor is like, okay, I've seen through that, because he couldn't help himself. Like it almost feels overindulgent, and I don't know the rewatchability's there, but definitely one of the best of this little. I call it the half decade, even though I
The
got some good.
2020 so far. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely among that 100% on that list. But I haven't done a video on that one yet. I mean, I did like a quick little review of my daughter, during our Halloween season.
Mhm.
But I'd love to have you back to sell me more on the best of the 2020s more and unpack it more for me, because I know some and really enjoyed it. I'm not trying to take away from it. Really enjoyed it. And for me, 4 and 4.5s are, that's the top of the notch, but very
That's
few things to
fine,
come on
yeah.
the
I
classic
think
list. Like what's, so.
if I were to rank Eggers films, because he's only done 4, right?
Mhm.
Nosferatu is at the bottom of that list. It's in 4th
Oh,
place, right?
okay.
But it is my favorite of his films when it comes to just completely subjective, right? It like that, but at the same time, I really like Nosferatu because I think, or his version of Nosferatu, because I think it's a great example of, because it is a Dracula story, right? That film is just the Dracula story without the copyright infringement. And there's only
Much like the
so
original.
many ways that you can retell the same story without people being like, what's the point? So I felt his version of Nosferatu is a great example of putting a twist that is more relevant to the current era of just kind of culture, right? And what we value and everything, while also still more or less staying true to what that original 1922 film was kind of doing.
Yeah.
I've talked to people that completely disagree with it, but it's the same. I haven't seen Frankenstein yet. I know there's a lot of mixed opinions on Frankenstein, but it's like that. How many times can you make a Frankenstein movie just telling the same story the book did and not make it relevant, right? I think that like you can have interpretations and twists on film as long as you still are able to capture the essence of what the original tale or film was doing. And I think Nosferatu is a great example of that.
That's true. And I have to give him credit too, the way he was trying to pull in cultural aspects, the gypsy stuff and some of the other geographical Romanian mythology and the stuff that was there that I think really makes it interesting. And again, this is why I can't imagine being a vote person for the Oscars or whatever, how Bill Skarsgård completely disappears. And unless you
that's a really big snub for me. The fact that performance, wasn't, whether you like the movie or not, that's a
he disappears. He completely, unless you see a movie still, you have to look at a movie still to see Bill Skarsgård. If you watch the movie, you can't see Bill Skarsgård. I like went into it knowing that's him, and I can't see him. Now, when I see it, I do kind of see him
a little bit. You can still see it,
you can see him, right? But I could not. Yeah, as Orlok, he was gone. I couldn't. So things like that. So I've kept her long enough, folks. We've been talking about all sorts of stuff, and hopefully you'll give Train Dreams a try. Give us your thoughts. It is a beautiful film, and I definitely stand by best of this half decade, if you will, this best of the 2020s on that list. And I'm really hopeful maybe one of those Oscar nominations won't go to Sinners and will go to a film that deserves it way more, in my opinion. But yeah, we will see. I'm not covering the Oscar. Sometimes I have, but it's usually because I'm intrigued by something.
Yeah.
I'm so not intrigued this year at all. They didn't do anything remotely interesting. And I'm like, nah, never mind. I'm not. I'll wake up the next day and see.
I can already see who's going to sweep, just kind of based on the hype that certain films got and what films were nominated, all the other major ones. So I'll look at the winners, but I won't actively watch it. I've just been so disappointed with the winners since the year Parasite won. That was kind of the year I was just like, no, Shape of Water. When Shape of Water won, that was when I was done.
Yeah, that's true. That was like I've never watched it. I can't bring myself to watch it. I know too much.
I would love to hear your reaction about it because it's not.
It's probably not going to go well at all.
It's not a bad movie. It's just a strange movie and one that's not really worth considering because when you think Oscars, you kind of think the best of that year, and it doesn't meet that at all unless you're into furries stuff. So
I'm looking at 28. I'm looking at the Oscars to see what won, what was nominated and stuff. So yeah, because I know in 2019 you brought up, I think, Parasite or so. Anyway, so the fact that Ford versus Ferrari is still snubbed is still beyond me. I can't get
That
it.
should have been should have, because that movie, I watched it for the first time last year and I was so captivated by it that I watched it 3 times in a week because there was so much I was able, like, just like Train Dreams, where it's like it's not overt and there's a lot of deeper symbolism and meaning. I was able to see the same thing in Ford v Ferrari. And when F1 came out this past year, I was like, oh my god, it's the best racing film. It's the best. I'm just like, it's an okay movie.
It's Maverick. It's that's your Top Gun Maverick. I mean, I'll lower the expectation for Top Gun Maverick as well. Like, it's just, like I said, rewatchable. I did not say like 4 out of 5, like quality. I wouldn't say quality. I was talking about the rewatchability, the fun. It taps into patriotism. It taps into some stuff that F1 is just total fun. The cinematography, though, is really pretty epic. It's the sound and the sound and the cinematography are really
the
really
racing, right? I think the actual racing sequences, those are the best that we've ever seen in film. But when it comes to racing movies, I don't think anything can top Ford v Ferrari.
Yeah, I have others to watch that I have not ever seen, so I have to be a little fair. But yeah, Shape of Water. Now I go back, I was looking at the list that it won over Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird. I've never seen The Post. I would watch any of those again before I watch Shape of Water. I'm not sure I could do it. So I know too much about what he's doing in that film. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe for Vex I would do it. We'll see.
If you do watch Eczema, I'd love to be there with your first reaction, because that's a film that really just because it takes such a left turn halfway in and you don't expect it, and when it happens, you're like, how the heck did you manage to put 2 different films together so flawlessly?
It's good. Yeah,
it's one of the best of this decade, I would say. There's hold on, there's 4 films that I would rank the best of this decade so far. So Eczema's one of them, The Substance, No Other Choice, and Train Dreams.
Okay. Interesting.
No Other Choice is a contender for best of just the 2000, like this century in general so far. I think a strong case can be made.
No Other Choice is that good. All right. I can't wait to see him. All right. Well, she's
going
to have to come back now.
She's
put herself out there with too many commitments. Now, you guys are on record of seeing that she's sending me links. What do I do now? I've got her on the hook at least for 3 more videos. So she'll have to come back.
I will. No, I will come. As so long as like another part of my house doesn't break down.
I know. Yeah, we have more natural disaster stuff in the world. We
talk about things that'll be lost to time, you know?
Oh, I mean, tell you what, I totally understand. So, well, folks, listen, thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure you check out the playlist and stuff. Make sure you check the description to connect to Vex and also that she's doing. She does these great long form conversations, some fun live streams. You make sure you check out what she's doing. And I appreciate you guys being with us. I am Pops.